2 of lesson 1 in chapter 1 on positive numbers and the number line. We're going to review quickly the horizontal number line and mixed numbers. So we're going to go to page 8 in your textbook. So remember, our objectives are to represent whole numbers, fractions, and decimals on a number line, to interpret and write statements of inequality for two given positive numbers using the symbols greater than and less than. So here we are at the bottom of chapter 8. Yesterday we walked through number 5, and then you may have done on your own the other ones. We're just going to quickly review how to do number 6 and 7, and then 8. So number 6, it says draw a horizontal number line to represent each set of numbers. So mixed numbers greater than 10 but less than 11, using an interval of 1/4 between each pair of mixed numbers. So interval just means that's how much you're going to jump on the number line. So from 10, I would just add 1/4 until I got to 11. So my first one would be 10 plus 1/4, which would be 10 and 1/4. So as you can see here on the number line I've drawn, it's horizontal. My first number is 10 because it said greater than 10. And then my next interval would be by 1/4. So I've added 10. I've added a quarter to get to 10 and 1/4. So I'm by 1/4 intervals. And then it said to represent the mixed numbers. Because 10 is not a mixed number, I can't dot it. And it said greater than 10, so I also wouldn't dot it because of that. But 10 and 1/4 is a mixed number because it has the whole number and the fraction. So I do dot 10 and 1/4. It also is greater than 10, but still less than 11. And then I add another quarter and I get to 10 and 2/4, which is equal to 10 and 1/2 because the 2/4 can be simplified by dividing both of them by 2. So it's greater than 10 and less than 11, so I dot that. It's still a mixed number. Then adding another quarter would be 10 and 3/4, still a mixed number. I have a whole number with a fraction, can't be simplified to a whole number. And then when I get up here, adding another quarter would be 10 and 4/4. And 4/4 is equal to 1, so 10 plus 1 is 11. So because that can be simplified to a whole number, I do not dot it because it's not a mixed number. And 11 is equal to 11, not less than. Okay, moving on to number 7. What we can see here is, again, we're representing mixed numbers. It says on number 7 in your textbook, if you're following along, which you should be, mixed numbers from 3 to 4 with an interval of 1/10 between each pair of numbers. So on this one, it says from 3 to 4. So if 3 was a mixed number, I would dot it, but since it's not, it's a whole number, I don't. But the word from would indicate I would include 3 and 4 if they were mixed numbers, but since they're not, I don't. And then I'm counting by 1/10. So I add to 3 1/10. So 3, 3 and 1/10, 3 and 2/10, 3 and 3/10, 3 and 4/10, 3 and 5/10, 3 and 6/10, 3 and 7/10, 3 and 8/10, 3 and 9/10, and 3 and 10/10, which again, 3 and 10/10 can be simplified to 3 plus 1, which is equal to 4. And since that's a whole number, I don't dot it to represent the mixed numbers in between or from 3 to 4. So I do dot all these other mixed numbers, and you'll see some of them I simplified. So 3 and 2/10, those can both be divided by 2 to get to 3 and 1/5. And same thing here. And then 3 and 5/10, those can both be divided by 5 to simplify the fraction to 3 and 1/2, and so on. Okay, then we have number 8, and this one is regarding decimals, but still I do it like fractions, and I'm still doing a horizontal number line. And notice there's equal spacing between each of these because they're also by equal intervals. So on number 8, it says decimals between 0 and 1. So if it's decimals between, I do not mark the 0 because it's not between 0 and 1. It is 0. And then an interval of 25 hundredths. So I know I'm not going to need too many spots since I'm counting by 25 hundredths because that's 1/4. So 25 hundredths, and this is a decimal, so I'm going to dot it. It's between 0 and 1. And I went up by 1, 2, 3 spaces, so I can't just go to this next line, even though it's bold. I have to go 1, 2, 3 spaces, because that would be an equal interval. And then if I need to, underneath here, I can add 25 hundredths to this. This would be 2 plus 2 plus 1 is 5. And those would be zeros. So this next one, if I'm counting by intervals of 25 hundredths, should be 50 hundredths. Or you could also say it's 5/10. And that is a decimal, and it's between 0 and 1. And then again, counting by that same grouping. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The next line should go right there. And again, if you need to, you can add the 25 hundredths underneath it. If you're thinking of money or of quarters, 1/4 is 25 cents, 2/4 is 50 cents, 3/4 is 75 cents, and 4/4 is $1, right? But I don't put it right here on this next bold line. I just count by the 3 lines again. So $1 could be written like that. Now you could say this would be a decimal, but really it would be simplified to a whole number. So should I have dotted this one? The answer is no for 2 reasons. The problem said between 0 and 1, and 1 is not between 0 or 1, it is 1. So I should not have a dot on that one. You guys have an eraser, so you can erase that. I have to exit because I don't have an eraser. So then you have another one that you can practice, number 9. We're going to move on in the video to the next guided practice section, which is on page 11. And this is about writing statements of inequality, comparing 2 fractions or 2 decimals using the symbols greater than or less than. And you'll notice we're going to be working with vertical number lines and horizontal number lines. So this one says fill in the missing number decimals on the number line. Okay, so you can see right here on a vertical number line, the numbers that are lesser are on the bottom and the numbers that are greater are on the top. So this is 1/100th, and then we have 400ths, 500ths, 700ths, and 800ths. So let's see what we think we're counting by. So if I just count by ones, let's see if that works. 100th, 200ths, 300ths, 400ths, 500ths, 600ths, 700ths, 800ths, 900ths, 1000ths. So would that work? And the answer is yes. If it didn't, then I would try something else and maybe skip by 2s and go 100, 300ths, 500ths. But we know our 100ths works. So we're going to fill in our vertical number line. And remember, the lesser numbers go on the bottom. So 0 is down here, and then 100th. And then the one we were missing was 200ths. And then 300ths. And remember, we were doing even spacing intervals, just like the horizontal number line. Some people, if you get confused, you can turn it this way, and then your lesser numbers are on the left, and your greater numbers are going to be to the right. And then we have 400ths, and then 500ths, 600ths, and that one had a dot on it, 700ths, 800ths, 900ths with a dot, and 1000ths, which we put as 10. So don't go 0 and 1 because that's 100th. And then this one had a dot as well. And it's again okay to have this extra space. To check yourself again, you can turn it to the right and it should look like a horizontal number line except for your numbers are written the other direction. But we have 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1000ths. Okay.